Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, here to Sports Time HQ. I'm your host, Fernando. Joined with me by my great co-host, Keith. How are you today?
I'm not too bad, Fernando. How are you?
You know what? I'm doing great. Super Bowl's over. Actually, kind of sad, actually, now that the Super Bowl's over. Because now we have to wait like 100 and something days or 201 days or whatever until the football season's back again. But obviously, we don't stop. So we keep going. But you know what? It's now draft season. We're starting to get drafting for mock drafts. Fantasy dynasty leagues, they're in full swing pretty soon once that draft goes around. And of course, even though football's over, we got a different sport. Baseball's coming around too. Can't go wrong with that. Red Sox World Series champs 2024. Woo!
It's not going to happen. I think you really know that. I think we gave out on the last pod about the Red Sox. But yeah, I'm looking forward to baseball season. All right. I think my Jays have a better chance than your Red Sox.
You know what? I completely agree with you on that. Unfortunately, I can agree with you. But we'll go right into the Super Bowl. Right into the Super Bowl. Kansas City. They win again. Is it officially a dynasty? As a Patriots fan, I'd like to say no. But as a true person and a true fan, you have to say it is officially a dynasty.
You think they're getting there slowly? I don't know whether it is or not.
Really?
I mean, yeah, they're getting there slowly, but still, we'll see. Going in on the game, I thought the 49ers were in control of most of that game until overtime. I mean, the Chiefs made the big plays at the right time, which was important. Kept them in touch. The 49ers just couldn't get away from them. And in the end, I suppose the toss of a coin. That's been also, everybody's been talking about since the Super Bowl has kind of made the outcome in the end. I don't know what you think about that now. What you would have done there? Would you have taken the ball or played defense first?
First of all, Nick saying it's a dynasty for the Chiefs, but I cannot believe that San Fran did not know the overtime rules. I mean, that is just wild that they don't know the overtime rules. Nick's laughing about it in the comments. I mean, how do you not know as a professional team, NFL team, you get paid millions of dollars? Wouldn't you want to know what happens in your league? I know it was like a new rule and everything, and it was only for the playoffs. And that was the first time in this year's playoffs since the rule change that went into overtime. I mean, I think there's a lot of vague areas right now in the overtime rules, and I think they need to fix that, because I know I was tweeting out during the Super Bowl because I was like, this could go to double overtime. But what happens in double overtime? Like, once the clock hits zero.
Is it definitely double overtime? I'm guessing, I don't know. I've never seen it happen, but I'm guessing it goes like college, right?
That's what I'm saying. No one really knew. But Tony Romo said it on the stream that even if it went down to zero, the second quarter, it would be like the second quarter. First quarter ends, second quarter starts, which means that the Chiefs would have still been in the same exact position and they would have scored, whether it was the first quarter or the second quarter of overtime, first or double OT. But that just, to me, that means you're taking the clock out of the game. And obviously I feel like the clock should mean a lot in the game. Because the coin toss, obviously you want to be the second person to get it, or unless you're San Fran and receive it first. But I think personally, you should make the overtime rules change. You need to change them because I don't think it's right. You can use it only for playoffs like we did this year. If it goes into overtime, you have to play a full quarter. I think you need to play a full quarter instead of saying 2 possessions. Because if you go into the second possession like the Chiefs did, they have 4 downs to get a first down. It's not 3 downs and boom, that's it. You go into the 4th down, you punt it. You can't do that. You have to go for 4 downs. So essentially they have 4 downs. So you're playing first and second down like it's both first and first down, double first downs, then second, then third. I just don't think that the NFL exactly has the overtime rules set in exactly the way they want it, because I don't think you should have 4 downs like that unless you're doing possession. Like, the possessions just are so dumb. I don't like it. I think you need to have a full quarter for playoffs.
What would you do, though, in terms of you play the full quarter out and it's still a tie or whatever, but then do you toss again?
No.
Like you said, the clock means nothing if you get the ball. Like the end of the first period of overtime and you're on the 1 yard line, should you go toss? Should they go toss again, or they're just on the 1 yard line? They're going to win it early in the second, though. Do you know what I mean?
Now what happens is the first quarter ends. Whoever's winning at the end of the the end of the quarter, that's the game.
Oh, I know, but it's a tie. That's what I mean. If it's
still a tie, then you revert back to the rules this year. Then it's next possession wins. So you can either coin flip it one more time, have next possession wins, and that's it. Or, I mean, you could play another quarter, but I think that would just be too much for the players, in my opinion. You should be playing 6 quarters that long. But I think you would go full quarter. If it's tied, then it's the first team to score after that, or possession-wise. Give 2 people possessions.
Yeah, I'd go with that. I mean, I'd go with tossing again. And then like that, you have 1 chance each or whatever, whoever scores wins type of thing to just end it. I would go with that. Yeah, I agree.
Because obviously, yeah, San Fran said that Kansas City said they would have went for the 2-point conversion anyways. And I think you could easily do that if you want, but then that's again goes back to the point of if the clock means nothing and it's just possessions, then realistically San Fran goes down, kicks a field goal, kicks an extra point with the touchdown, they're up by 7. Kansas City goes down, they do it by 7, next score wins. But they can go by 8 now. I don't know. I think I don't think the rules should have been the way it is. Personally, I don't like it.
Are we blaming the Bills for that? Is it their fault they changed the rules?
Well, Kansas City was in that game, so I blame Kansas City. Everything's Kansas City's fault.
But it was the Bills that didn't get to go, so.
Yeah. I mean, you could say that it was the Bills, but realistically, you look at it, that was like 1 in a million that happened. We knew overtime rules needed to be changed. But because it happened in the playoffs, that's why they changed it. If that was a regular season game, I don't think they would have changed it. I think they would have kept it the same.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you.
But I don't know. I just think that the rules in overtime need to be addressed in their meetings whenever they have their meetings to make rule changes, because I don't think it's exactly the way we want it yet.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But the problem with this is, and it won't be highlighted, I don't think, this offseason, it's because, like we said earlier, the 49ers didn't know the rules. So if
How do you not know? How do you not know the rules?
I know, right? Ridiculous. If you're going into the game and you don't know the rules, I mean, it's very hard for, the NFL to say, I'm going to change them. The NFL are just going to be like, well, you didn't know them anyways. If we change them, are you still going to know the rules? You know what I mean? So I think that's going to be highlighted more than saying, okay, there's an issue with the overtime rules. At least if San Fran knew what was going on in overtime, they'd give themselves a better chance. I mean, Kyle Shanahan coming out and saying they wanted the ball third, it was just like an excuse because they didn't know what was going on. Like, you probably seen it. Kyle Juszczyk was mic'd up or whatever, and he clearly goes over and says like, "Oh, we didn't know the rules. I didn't know that it's if we get a touchdown, it's not over." Exact words he said.
They get a touchdown, it's not over. They get a chance, right? This and that. Yeah, I mean, maybe make this the overtime rules that we have now. Make it overtime for a regular season, and then I think go on and do what I said, make it a limit of time for the playoffs and Super Bowl, I think. Yep. And then if it's still tied after that, I mean, also I think onside kicks need to be changed. I don't like onside kicks. So we're going into rule picking now.
You're going down a rabbit hole here. Keep it going. Go on you go.
The onside kicks is ridiculous. I liked it when the players could have ran when the kicker was running, because it allows an extra chance of them to have a little bit more advantage to try and get the ball. What's the point of an onside kick now? There's no purpose. You're just doing it to try and get the ball back, but barely anyone gets it back. I know it's supposed to be hard, but I think you should make it less hard than what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it was a safety thing, right? That the players didn't run.
Yeah, it was.
So like that's gonna be the first thing they look at. And I doubt they're gonna change it over that. But wasn't a new one was you could was it like you could go on like 4 and 25 or 4 and 20 instead of
I'm fine with that too. I think I also was fine with that.
To just go long, because that probably has a better chance of happening. Like, getting the first down.
I would do it. I would do that. I think a 4th and 25 is a lot better of a chance than doing the onside kick, unless you made the onside kick like it used to be. Mm-hmm. Because you used to see people get it a lot more than what they do now. Now it's like non-existent. Now onside kick is pointless.
Yeah, it is. Unless the first guy fumbles it, then it's pretty
Yeah,
much in his hand every time.
yeah, and I mean,
And this
like you
whole you
see,
gotta wait, you gotta like let it go 10 yards, and you have the team that kicks like waiting, and then tries to dive on it. It never happens.
yeah, and like, do you think like, for instance, like I lost my train of thought, but oh yeah, these kickers, they're trying to just do something special. Like they're trying to do something special every single time to try and change the way they're kicking it. I don't think that's changing anything because you're still not getting the ball. Like
No, they're
very
just they're
rarely.
just looking for a crazy bounce that the guy might
Yeah,
fumble it, and then one of your guys jumps on it. But like that's like 1 in a million type of stuff.
exactly. Let's see. Going to another rule thing that needs to be worked on. What's your thoughts on touchbacks? Because like every kick is a touchback now.
Yeah, it takes it's not not as exciting. Like it's better when I think you had the returner running out and trying to go the whole length of the field to get a touchdown. I mean, there was a few touchdowns this year, to be fair, on
Yeah.
punt returns and kickoffs and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm not a big fan because like even if it doesn't go in the end zone, right, he can still take a knee within the certain
Hmm.
distance. Like so, yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I much prefer them try to go for it, and it makes it way more exciting because if he does fumble, then again, like it's a pylon to try and get it. But then on the other side is that he can go the whole length of the field and score. So
Exactly.
I think you're taking an element out of the game when you're just taking a knee every time.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, what's the point of even kicking the ball? You might as well just put it as at the 25 every
Yeah,
single
and
time.
and play from there.
I think if they move the kicker back 5 yards, I think we would see a lot more returns.
Probably would. Yeah, and you could probably move them back 10 yards, not even 5.
I my head was going 10, but I said let me just give a little bit more benefit of the doubt and just give 5. So it's still touchbacks. It's not like every time it's gonna be returned. Because obviously you see a lot of kickers, they'll kick it, like hit the post. And I think if you back them up 5, I think it'll just be a perfect amount where it still goes in the end zone, and they'll either just touch back it or they'll actually try to return it. That's why. And if you're trying to do an onside kick the way it used to be, keep it at where the kicking line is right now. So keep them at like what, the 35, 40, and then just move them back 5 if they're doing a kickoff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on your side with this. I think we're both on the same page with all these rule changes. I just don't know if anyone's going to listen to you, Fernando.
No, they're not. I mean, I might as well go up to Roger Goodell and tell him, listen, I'm the new commissioner of the league because you don't know how to run it.
Or send her an email and see what happens.
On it right now. Let me send it in. But back to this Super Bowl. I mean, I think overall, maybe in the past 5-10 years, as much as I want to say the Patriots Falcons game was probably the best Super Bowl, I think this could have also been a really good Super Bowl. Like this is up there in one of the top Super Bowls for me.
You think?
Maybe because I know that a lot of people don't like low scoring games. I don't like low scoring games. I almost fell asleep in the first half. But the second half, it got a lot more exciting. Like it was a lot more intense. Kansas City started coming back. San Fran was just pushing over. And then all of a sudden it went to overtime. And like we were all, I'm sure you were too, at the edge of your seat at the end of the fourth quarter and then in overtime too.
Yeah, I was, and I don't mind low scoring games. It's the first half was just like a nervy game. There was a lot of mistakes, a lot of things going on.
Fumbles left and right.
Yeah, Mahomes wasn't on his A game. Like 49ers were okay, but they should have scored more points. They were the better team, but yeah, it was just like a kind of a bit of a meh first half. It wasn't a whole lot. Like I do agree, the second half and then into overtime was exciting. But I don't think I would have it up there. I preferred last year's, and you're going to say it's because it's a high scoring game, but like that because it was more end to end, back and forth, or like
Yeah.
first half dominated by the Eagles, second half dominated by the Chiefs. I like that more. There was no real. They didn't really show a lot of nerves. They went out to win the game, whereas I feel in the first half of this one, both sides were very nervous, and if one of them had just been ready to play, I think they would have scored a hell of a lot more points than what they did in that first half.
Yeah, like there was multiple times they had a chance to score and then it just ended up not going.
Yeah, it was just a bit of a messy first half.
Yeah, it definitely was, and Purdy looked really good in the first quarter.
He did. I thought Purdy was all right all game. To be fair, though, I wouldn't blame him for losing. I don't know about you. there's definitely some blown coverages on him. I don't know if you see the ones to Ayuk a couple of times where he's wide open. But
you mean Ayuk in overtime when
Yeah.
he got bull rushed and all he needed to do was float in the end zone to the left a little bit more? Ayuk was there.
Yeah, if you check the coverage on that though, it was blown. The offensive line, like
coverage.
one guy went the wrong way and then two guys came through the middle, and it just didn't give him time. But I thought Purdy had a good Super Bowl.
He looked Purdy.
He did look Purdy. I wouldn't have blamed him now for not winning in the end.
No, I mean, I think what really hurt San Fran the most is when Greenlaw went down, because Greenlaw was obviously
a silly way to get hurt.
I know, like, and sometimes it just happens. It sucks that it happened, but if he didn't go down, I think that defense for San Fran would have put a little bit more pressure on Mahomes, and the coverage would have been just phenomenal. Because when Greenlaw was in during the beginning of the game, Mahomes had nothing, nowhere to go, nothing. And it looked great. Once Greenlaw went down, not even Greenlaw, Kittle went down, and I think someone else also went down. Debo went down. Yeah, that's right. Debo with the hamstring. So, like, multiple players that were key players to this team went down and had injuries. And I think that also hurt them too.
Yeah, it did. I kind of unsettled them as well, especially, going into that second half. They weren't really on the same page for a while, and then kind of got it back going again. So yeah, but that's the 49ers for you, right? They managed to go injury free for most of the season, and then come the Super Bowl, they got a lot of injuries, and then last year, the year before, all the injuries just before the Super Bowl. That seems to be a theme with them. Just unfortunate for them, I suppose.
And I think it's time to say goodbye. Start singing the song "Na Na Na Na" goodbye to Brandon Ayuk, because I don't think he's gonna be in San Fran next year.
He's out of there. It looks like Vegas. Someone put up. Is it like his sister or his brother or somebody put up?
I think his wife put it out there, and I think so. And then I think afterwards, his best friend or brother or someone also put something out there.
Well, he got 3 catches for 49 yards, and he wasn't impressed.
Yeah, and like, I get that you're not impressed, but I mean, it's also a team effort. Like, you're trying to do your best, and I mean, if it just doesn't work, then that's fine. Like, who was the leading receiver? Juwan Jennings, who
he should have got MVP.
I voted for him for MVP. I voted for him for MVP, and then I voted Kelsey for MVP, but I knew Mahomes was already going to win it, so it didn't matter.
It's a stupid award when it comes to the end, because it always just goes to a quarterback.
It really does. Like, Christian McCaffrey would have been the guy. Another guy that was up there could have had a chance, and then just Juwan Jennings having the passing and receiving touchdown. But Brandon Ayuk, if he's not in San Fran, please, New England, please go to New England. I love Brandon Ayuk.
You want every half decent receiver to go to the Patriots.
Whoa, he's not half decent. Having 75 receptions for over 1,300 yards, that's elite level.
He's good. He's good, but you got no one to throw the ball to him, so that's a problem.
That's okay, because we're going to fix that issue this offseason.
We're getting Justin Fields?
You know what? We'll talk about him in a little bit, because I could go into a whole tangent with Fields. But yeah, Ayuk definitely is going to be out. It looks like where he goes is still undetermined, but there's a lot of teams that need receivers, that could use receivers. I also heard, I forget who said it, Justin Jefferson was going to get traded away from Minnesota.
Well, Jefferson's waiting on the quarterback situation to see if he's going to sign his big deal.
Exactly.
So that's all up in the air. I'd say he'll stick around if it's going to be Kirk Cousins and they're going to give it a chance to try and win the Super Bowl. 100%. But depending if they go another way, or if they get a rookie and he's not a fan of the rookie, he might want out. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Well, so I heard a trade target of a team that would want him, or like it was kind of like a trade, like mock trade, I think. But I think that this is a very intriguing trade. Again, I didn't say it. I just want it to be known. I didn't say it. But this guy that said it, who's an elite guy, I think he works for Fantasy Pros. I don't remember. He said Justin Jefferson gets traded because they have Jordan Addison. JJ gets traded to the New England Patriots.
Oh.
I saw that, and then my heart dropped. I was like, please, I'll take. Hear me out. Justin Jefferson and Brandon Ayuk, who needs a quarterback now? You just have elite receivers.
When
Mac
did the
Jones one more
Patriots
year.
ever pay people?
No,
When
here's
did
the
the
thing.
Patriots
Here's the
ever pay
thing.
people? You're not getting JJ.
There is a new face of the franchise, and that's Mr. Gerard Mayo.
Doesn't matter. Kraft still pays the wages and pays the bills. He's not going to pay someone.
Okay. Listen, if he gets them a trophy, it gets them a trophy.
Very surprised if you get Justin Jefferson, you're getting nobody else, and you better hope him on his own can get you a Super Bowl.
I would give. Listen to this first this year, and maybe like a first next year for JJ.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. But I just mean your salary cap will be like maxed out if you're actually going to pay him.
That's fine. Use up the salary cap. It's there for a reason, right? It's there for a reason.
Okay, you get all excited about JJ. Go on, but he's not.
I will get all excited about JJ. Oh man, we're getting so off topic here.
Yeah.
Let's finish up on the Super Bowl. MVP Mahomes. Do you think he deserved to be MVP, or do you think it should have been McCole Hardman, Travis Kelce?
I would give it to Jennings. Why not?
Oh, okay. So you think it's still good to give it to another person, even though they didn't win the Super Bowl?
Yeah. I do. And there's been a lot on that. Was it Nate that said it on the broadcast? But someone else said it that like they don't get it why someone else, on the losing team can't get MVP. Why does it always have to be one, the quarterback, and two, on the winning team? I mean, you can have a really good game and still lose. So, which is true. But like, if you're telling me if Jennings was on the winning team, he would have had a very good chance to take that off Mahomes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, or if San Fran won, he would have had a very good chance to take it off Purdy. So I don't see why not. Okay, he lost, but he had a good game.
I agree. I mean, I think even if you have like breaking records, or like the first person to ever have a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown was Nick Foles. Now he's the second person. That's something that hasn't been done in 58 Super Bowls. Like, it's only 2 people have done it in 58 years.
Yeah, and wouldn't have said it'd be Nick Foles and Jennings.
Yeah, and it would have been crazy to see. But you mentioned like how it only goes to the quarterback. Defensively, you look at the last 10 years, Malcolm Smith, he won MVP 1 year with the Seahawks. Mm-hmm. And then Von Miller in Super Bowl 50 when it was a very defensive game for the Broncos. But why wasn't Malcolm Butler MVP when he had the game-winning touchdown for the Patriots? Why did it have to be Tom Brady? I mean, Tom Brady may have had a good game, but I mean, let me look at his thing. Let's see. What was his record? He had 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 328 yards, and his QB rating was 101.1. I mean, you could say that he deserved it, but Malcolm Butler deserved it. And I think defensive players need to get more love, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, anybody outside the quarterbacks in the Super Bowl needs to get more love.
Yeah,
because it's way too, it's way too consistent just being quarterbacks just because you're on the winning team and you did okay. Because that's all Mahomes did for me. It was okay.
Exactly, and that's just, I don't know. Mahomes was average. He was average in that game.
He's played better. You know what I mean? He got the job done. Don't get me wrong. Of course he did, but he's definitely played better.
Yeah. Well, before we go on, I do want to quickly show our final predictions and final scores. Keith, you beat me this week. You beat me on Super Bowl week, actually.
About time.
You beat me 72-56. Fantasy was brutal. My running backs, CEH and Jordan Mason, had nothing. Kyle Juszczyk had more points than them, which I don't know why I didn't pick Kyle Juszczyk, but it is what it is. Kadarius Toney was ruled out of the game. I could have put Richie James in for you, but you still got a donut either way.
Yeah, so, I was wondering who had Jennings. I couldn't remember, but you had him on IR.
I did have Juwan Jennings. Imagine that. Imagine you had Juwan Jennings. Oof. You could have got close. I don't know. I think Juwan Jennings probably put up 30 points. So you would have finished with only 19, roughly, behind me overall.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
At least I won a week.
Yeah, at least you won a week. I didn't get the broom out and clean sweep.
Yeah.
I felt bad. I think you deserved it a little bit,
Well, when I looked at the 2 teams, I was happy with this, but there was no way I was going to catch you.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been tough to catch me. I think.
Did Noah Gray outscore George Kittle?
Yes, he did. George Kittle was kind of irrelevant in the game.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
he was irrelevant even with the injury. Like, you could take him out and he would still it would still be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's ended up what happening. I won, but you know what? You won Monday Night Football.
So
you won that.
Yeah, we got one each. So
yeah, we got something each to brag about. But let's get into some news and notes around the league. Kelsey, well, he's saying he's coming back. So is Andy Reid. That just means that they're trying to do the 3-peat. And I think if the 3-peat is made, I think that is when Kelsey and Reid will retire. I think also they will retire if they lose. I think they're going to retire regardless next year. I think it's their last season. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree as well. 2 Kelseys will retire. I mean, I think Jason's coming back for 1 year and then he'll retire. I think
he's going to go to Kansas City?
No, I don't think Jason's going to Kansas City, but I just think the 2 Kelseys will retire together. There was rumors they might do it this year. So I think they'll both retire next year. I think Reid, I don't know. I still think there might be Reid saying he's sticking around, but I still think there might be a sneaky, because I don't get why Bill Belichick hasn't got picked up. And I thought Bill Belichick was just going to slot in there and Reid will go out on a winning streak. But yeah, but if he obviously stays around, he'll definitely be retiring next year. I think if they do the 3 in a row. But I'm still surprised Belichick hasn't got a team. I thought he was waiting out for Kansas City.
I'm telling you, he's going to Michigan.
He's not going to Michigan. Why do you think he's going to Michigan?
Tom Brady's got 1 year of eligibility. The hope. Bring them back together. Reunite
them all? I don't think so.
No, Tom Brady won't come back either. Even if he actually did have eligibility, he won't come back because he's got that Fox deal.
Yeah, he just kicked Greg Olsen out of a job.
Yeah, I was just going to say he kicked him out to the curb.
Yeah.
It's so sad. Because I thought Greg Olsen actually did really good as an announcer.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure someone will pick him up as a free agent announcer, you know?
He'll go somewhere. He's definitely looking. I think he was very good, and he was, not there long. And he always kind of knew, though, because hadn't Brady kind of deferred this? Like, he was meant to go join the crew sooner.
This year, right?
Yeah, so I think he always knew he was getting kicked out at some stage.
Yeah. And personally, I give him a lot of credit for what he's done. I mean, in Fox. So he'll get a job.
He'll get picked up.
Yeah. Some other news, Steve Wilks out of defensive coordinator in San Fran. Kind of just got, I mean, I know you give that face, but I was kind of just shocked. Like, I think Kyle Shanahan just had a media around him and just said, yeah, Steve Wilks is out.
It's like he's taking the fall for this. That's what I feel like it is. And I think it's strange because I don't think Steve Wilks did a bad job all season and in the Super Bowl.
They had a top 5 defense, and I was surprised to see Wilks just got fired like that.
Must have been there was some sort of decision that Wilks made in the Super Bowl, and Shanahan either tried to overrule or something like that.
That did happen.
Yeah, it's something odd anyways, I think.
I forget what play it was, but something happened where the defense was lined up and Kyle Shanahan didn't like it. It was in overtime. Kyle Shanahan didn't like it, called that timeout. That was when that timeout was called in overtime from San Fran. I heard that is when Kyle Shanahan was annoyed because he didn't like the play that was drawn up by Steve Wilks.
Yeah, so there must be, because he said there were certain things that just didn't fit. So
I think there's a lot of tension in San Fran with Steve Wilks.
Yeah, maybe there is, but I feel like it was harsh. But if that's it, then I mean, Shanahan's always going to win there. He's the head coach.
Yeah. Some other news: the NFL has not ruled out further punishment for the Browns quarterback in Deshaun Watson. Just when you think the punishments are over, they might still be coming back. Watson, he's already done 11 game suspension this past season. If further evidence emerges from the remaining misconduct cases against him, he could serve more penalties, whether it's fines, whether it's missed games, whether it's suspension from the league. We don't really know for a fact what happens, but yeah, Keith and I were talking before the show. I mean, we both agree that we thought everything was over. We thought he was done. He finally got back to his NFL career. Instead, he might miss more time.
I mean, this seems strange. Something must have come out that we're not aware of or something, because like you said, I thought this was over. I thought everything was done. Yeah, I feel it's strange. Like, you got his 11-game ban.
Yep.
Unless someone else has come out now with allegations against them and we just haven't heard the story. But yeah, I feel like this is odd that somebody's reporting this now.
I mean, for fantasy purposes, this hurts a lot of players who traded for Deshaun Watson after the 11-game suspension. Because obviously you must have paid a lot because you wanted him. And we know how he was pre this whole thing, how good of a quarterback he was.
Yeah. I think it's very strange. I mean, if you're in Dynasty, I think you want nothing got to do with him, but I don't think you're going to get, if you have him, you're not going to, get anything for him. So you're going to just have to hold him and hope for the best. But I'd like to see where this goes. I feel like somebody just could be writing this just as a, make noise for no apparent reason. It's all gone quiet now after the Super Bowl. So it might be something and nothing here. We'll just have to wait and see.
I'm willing to trade him for a second. If anyone wants him for like a late second.
Have you got him?
League. No, I might have him in one league, but I think that's because I just held him the whole time. But I'm kind of just over it. Like, if you want him,
I have him actually.
Come get him. Like, like, you want a second? Sure, take him. Like, I'm kind of over him. You want 2/3? I might even pull the trigger on that. I'm just kind of over the whole dealing with that whole situation. Let me go find myself another quarterback.
I think I have him in a league, actually.
It's wild because a lot of people, I think I saw someone pay like 2 firsts for him recently.
2 firsts. Yeah, I do have him. I have him in our Devy league. You want him in our Devy league?
No. I'll give you a 5th round pick for him.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah, exactly. More news. Trubisky out in Pittsburgh. They're moving on from Trubisky. Well,
no biggie.
Yeah, no biggie. EA College Sports coming back as a video game. Keith, did you ever play this?
No, never played it.
No? Did you ever play Madden?
Oh yeah, I had Madden for a few years. Then it just got too samey every year.
Samey, terrible, awful, horrendous. Yeah. Not to splat EA Sports, but they're terrible at making Madden games.
Yeah, but this college game could be interesting.
I'm excited for it, but I just hope that it's not similar to Madden, like in some formats, because obviously college and Madden and NFL are different rules, different everything. I just hope there's actually a dynamic in this, because Madden, you're just playing the same game over and over again, and it gets so boring. You can't even play by yourself anymore with the franchise because you get bored of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you look at the MLB The Show. I played that before. And there's constantly new things coming around in your franchise you can constantly play. So many different game modes. Like, I don't know. I think Madden needs to take notes from MLB The Show, personally.
It does. I think that's the best one. I played MLB The Show for the first time last year, and I thought that was the best sports game.
I did too. When I don't know what system you play on, but I play on the Game Pass system on Xbox.
Oh, it's my PlayStation.
Of course, you're on the dark side. But anyways, I got it for free. Xbox had a thing where got it for free nice. If you have the Game Pass. So I was like, oh, I'm willing to play it because it was always on PlayStation. Now they brought it over to Xbox. But yeah, they need to take notes because I refuse to buy a Madden game. I haven't bought a Madden game in like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
I have EA access through Xbox, and I'll play 10-hour free trial. I'll check it out. Those 10 hours are determining whether I'm buying the game or not.
And you haven't bought it.
And I have not bought it because it's the same thing over and over. Why am I paying $60 every single year?
Nothing
EA doesn't
changes.
deserve my money.
Yeah, no.
They don't deserve my money. Change the game.
Changes. Exactly, yeah.
But I'm excited for EA Sports College Football. I think I will buy that one because it's new and we haven't seen it in like 10, 11 years, in over a decade.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a go.
It is. Speaking of someone that's coming out of college football into the NFL draft, Caleb Williams, projected to be the number 1 overall pick. Chicago currently holds that. It looks like I thought Fields was going to stay in Chicago, but recently it kind of looks like that they're going to move on from Fields and they're going to draft Caleb Williams. So I think Fields could be either a draft day trade or just maybe like, I don't know, 2-3 weeks leading up to the draft is when he'll get traded.
Yeah, sounds like they're fielding offers for Fields.
Good one.
Yeah,
That was good. That was good.
It wasn't really meant. Yeah, it sounds like they're looking at offers. I don't think that's a whole lot. Was it like a day 2? So second.
They're looking for a day 2 and 3 for Fields.
I mean, I don't think that's that much.
That's not bad. I'd pay a second and a fourth.
Yeah,
I'll pay second and a fourth for him.
I would too. I mean, especially there's a lot of teams out there that are in need of a good quarterback, and I think you can definitely mold Fields into what you want. I mean, he's got the rushing upside. I definitely don't think he's a finished article throwing, but there's definitely improvement there. He's not that bad. And I think a change of scenery outside Chicago, because they just keep ruining quarterbacks. Anyways, will be good for him. So yeah, I'd definitely be, if I was the Patriots, I don't know, the Vikings, if they're not bringing back Kirk, the Falcons.
I'm down for that.
I'd definitely go get Fields.
Get rid of a second and a fourth for Fields. Get rid of 2 firsts for Jay Jettas. There you go.
Turn yourself into the Rams a few years ago. No picks.
I'm telling you. Sometimes it's just that's the way to go. You get your defense that you have now, and maybe like re-sign a couple of them. Make sure they come back. I think that team is a playoff contending team, maybe even Super Bowl contending team with Fields and Jay Jettas.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I will be, but I don't think you're going to get JJ.
Gerard Mayo, take notes. Take notes, please. Please don't ruin the Patriots even more. Then again, I shouldn't be saying much because we have won a lot of rings. How many have you won?
1.
Oh, yeah.
You still won 1. I'd rather win 1 than none.
Didn't you guys get like? Wasn't it the ring that you guys won where you guys won like 40-something-7?
Oh yeah,
Broncos.
Yeah, against Broncos. Yeah,
that wasn't really a game. It wasn't really a game. Broncos gave it to you.
It was a no contest. That was too easy.
That was. I think that was the most bizarre Super Bowl I've ever watched.
It was so one-sided. Like, it was just everything went right. I mean, like Hester ran for, like we were talking about punt returns. He ran for a touchdown. I mean, I think we intercepted more times on our goal line as well. Like, yeah, that was just like the perfect game for the Seahawks, and we haven't seen it since. Yeah.
And I mean, you also had a chance at the 1-yard line to win another Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And you had Marshawn Lynch.
We had Marshawn. Yeah. We know about this. You don't need to tell us.
But speaking of the Seahawks, real quick, before we dive into the fantasy season recap, Geno Smith, he has $12.7 million in his contract that becomes fully guaranteed tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
He was informed today that he's going to stay on the roster, which means he's going to get the $12.7 million that converts from injury guaranteed to fully guaranteed. What's your thoughts on that?
Like it? I'm not surprised. Yeah, I mean, they were never going to get rid of Geno. I mean, that's not to say they're not going to take a quarterback and have him sit behind Geno for a year or something like that, because he's not the long-term answer there. But yeah, good for Geno. He gets his money.
Okay. I was just curious what your thoughts were before we go into fantasy season recap. All right, let's go into it. But just before we go into it, make sure to use code SportsTimeHQ on Underdog Fantasy. They'll match first deposit up to $100. I was so close in the Super Bowl to win $200 on a $5 bet. But one of my overs did not hit. Unfortunately, I had 4 of the 5 right. And obviously, Super Bowl is over. If you did any fantasy playoff stuff like Keith and I did, or if you bet on the playoff predictions and whoever in your league that you created had the most wins throughout the playoffs, you could get them a trophy, a ring, or a belt saying how good they are, or you can get the person that sucked the most a little toilet trophy. Go to trophysmack.com/sportstimehq. All right, let's get into it. Fantasy quarterbacks. Going through basically the top 10 quickly. Patrick Mahomes, Keith, he was just so overrated in fantasy football. Overrated. He finished as a QB1. He was drafted as a QB1, and he finished as a QB8. To give you a little perspective, he finished with just under 300 points, fantasy points. The number one player to finish in the quarterback format was Josh Allen, who had 410 points. So, and you could have got him in, I think, the third overall quarterback, pick number 18, roughly in drafts. That's when he was usually going. So instead of spending a first for Patrick Mahomes, you could have got someone else in a different position, maybe even like a Christian McCaffrey, probably not, but Christian McCaffrey, a possibility, or like a CD Lamb, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, and then go get Josh Allen. But Patrick Mahomes, do you think he's going to drop next year in next year's draft?
No, I still think he'll be, especially in like super flex leagues, all that stuff. He'll definitely go in the first 2 rounds. He shouldn't be the first one off the board though. In terms of QB, it should be Josh Allen. He's head and shoulders the best, I think, in for fantasy right now. What he does with his legs, like that Bills team, it's Josh Allen or nothing. You know what I mean? He's only short of throwing the ball to himself to get scores. So I still think, in Superflex, I still think they'll be going off the board in the first 2 rounds, but no way should Mahomes be the first QB off the board.
He doesn't really run as much than all these others.
I mean, the fact that he did more kind of when he came out initially, but he doesn't need to. That's the
He has a running back. He has Pacheco.
Yeah, he doesn't need to. I mean, and he's got his safety blanket and Kelsey all the time. You know what I mean? Like, if you think about it, they won I know Hardman got the winner, but they basically won the Super Bowl with no real wide receivers either.
No.
So, I mean, I think he's fine the way it is right now.
I think last year's Super Bowl was Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, who were the top receivers on that team. And then this year it's MVS and Juwan Jennings or Mecole Hardman.
Mecole Hardman, yeah. I mean, I think they might change it this year because,
draft a wide receiver, you mean?
Yeah, I think so, because the years are, like we're saying, if we're predicting maybe Kelsey to retire next year, they don't exactly have someone to slot in there, a tight end either. So they're going to have to start looking to the future soon.
I think I completely agree with that. Especially if Kelsey, like you mentioned, if Kelsey retires, you need some big guy that's going to be able to catch. And if Kelsey's gone, I don't know what Mahomes is going to do without him. I mean, we did say that when Tyreek Hill left, but guess what? They didn't need Tyreek Hill. He's won 2 Super Bowls after Tyreek Hill left, and he's never lost in the playoffs since Tyreek Hill left. Fun fact.
Yeah, and I think most people thought they were going to really miss Tyreek Hill, that kind of stretch the field option, but nope, it's not.
I was shocked. I was so shocked when that news came out. Mm-hmm. But going on down the list of quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson, those were the 2, 3, 4 that got drafted. We already talked about Allen getting first. Jalen Hurts, he got drafted as a QB2. He paid off. He still finished as a QB2. So he did you good wherever you drafted him as a quarterback 2 off the board. Lamar Jackson, same thing. Finishes as a QB4, was drafted as a QB4. But 5, 6, 7, and 8 is where it gets tricky. They all faced injuries. Justin Herbert, 5th off the board. Joe Burrow, 6th off the board. Justin Fields, 7th. And then Trevor Lawrence, 8th. Justin Herbert finished 17th as a QB 17s, and you paid good value for Justin Herbert. He was injured and he missed 4 games. I think there's a lot of question marks on Herbert in fantasy value because I think in 4 games, if you're not at least top 12, I think there's still an issue. Joe Burrow finishes 25. He missed 7 games. I think this is very understandable. I think he'll be a top 10 quarterback drafted next year as well. Justin Fields, 18th, only missed 4 games. Again, a problem. And then Trevor Lawrence finished 13th. Not bad. And he was injured in that 1 game. And he missed.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence finishing 13 is a little bit surprising because I didn't think he was that good overall for fantasy. I mean, I would have had him lower on that list. Mm-hmm. But yeah, obviously he did okay in the end. 276 points. It's not bad. I mean, Sam Howell, for a guy that's probably going to be out of his job, he was really good for fantasy last year. I noticed him a whole lot more than Trevor Lawrence, and he only kind of bet Lawrence by like a point. So probably shows how good Trevor Lawrence was. Maybe went under the radar a little bit.
Oh, I completely agree with you. I drafted Lawrence in a lot of leagues, and in my dynasty, I tried getting him everywhere I could get him. Like I was willing to pay a first and a second for him, a first and a receiver for him. I think there was times where I was really tempted to pull the trigger on 2 firsts for him. Like I like Lawrence a lot. After this year, a lot of question marks on whether or not I want to pull that trigger again.
Mm-hmm.
But that's another thing. Like Lawrence finishing 13th, you said is a surprise. Somewhat, I'm saying it's not a surprise only because of how many injuries we had in quarterbacks this year. I think that's also another thing.
Yeah,
like,
that might have factored in. Okay, all right.
I think that's what factored in the most. I think if anything, if those quarterbacks didn't get hurt, like Kirk Cousins, I think he would have finished top 10, low top 10.
Same with Burrow, I'd imagine.
Exactly. Herbert could have finished top 10. Fields, I don't really know. I don't really care for it. Finishing top 10, but I don't know. I was surprised to see that he was 13. To finish off the quarterback list, the top 10, Tagovailoa, he got drafted 9th. You got what you paid for. He finished 9th. And then I think one of the best ones was Dak Prescott, who also I think deserved MVP based on his performance, touchdown, interception, yardage performance. Obviously, playoffs, he sucked, but overall season, he did really good. He finished as a QB3, and you paid as a quarterback 10 for him. So I think that's really good if you're looking for someone to give you that value. I don't know, I'm guessing you love Dak Prescott in fantasy?
No, I never take him really.
Never? Not even a little bit?
Nothing. I think I have him in like leagues. I have no choice. Like that Debbie league I was saying, I think I have Dak and something like that, or other leagues I have Dak, but he's not a guy I look for in say 1 QB leagues. Just that he's never really, like, as most people going into this year said, what has Dak ever done, even in real life or in fantasy? Now that's going to be different going forward because what's he end up as the QB3? So I mean that's going to be different going forward. Now I think Dak will get a lot more attention. He definitely won't be slipping to whatever QB10 anyways.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think he'll be drafted as a top 5 personally next year.
Preston, your rankings will be interesting.
We'll have to see our rankings for sure. Some other players that did finish top 10 overall in fantasy this year that wasn't drafted in top 10. Jordan Love, 5th. I mean, I think he finished 5th, which is fantastic, finishing above Patrick Mahomes is another great one, a great story. Jordan Love was drafted as a QB 22, so finishing as a QB 5, I think he will be a top 13, 14 quarterback, I want to say, in next year's draft. Brock Purdy as well, finishing 6th this year, drafted as the 16th. Jared Goff finished 7th. He was drafted 14th, if I believe so, 14th. I mean, these are 3 players, Keith. I don't know if a lot of people thought would be top 10.
No, not at all. And I probably guarantee you that Jared Goff will probably go higher than Purdy next year because Purdy still doesn't get the respect, that people like. I think Love will he could be top 10 or just outside it. Like, I think he will get the respect this year. But yeah, Purdy for some reason just doesn't. I don't think he convinces anyone, and I think they just think they're a running machine with McCaffrey. So I can see why Goff and definitely Love anyways will go ahead of Purdy.
I completely agree with you on that. And the only question mark for Purdy is if Ayuk stays. If Ayuk goes, there's question marks on that. Kittle, what does he do? Does he stay as well? And then lastly, for quarterbacks is who finished 10th, but was drafted as the QB 30. And I think he blew everyone away in surprise, Mr. Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I mean, he did. He had his best season. We've said it. I've said it numerous times. I'm not a Baker guy, but I have to, give him his credit. He had his best season on the field and in fantasy, but I don't know if I trust them numbers going into next year. I don't know I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback. I don't think he can sustain that for multiple years. So fair play to him for finishing 10th last season, but coming into this season, he's not a guy I'd be looking at.
You think he gets paid?
I do think he gets paid. Yeah, I think whatever 30 odd million. They're talking even 40 million maybe. I think he definitely gets paid. But for fantasy, I'm not rushing out to get him. He'll have to slip a lot, and I don't think he's going to slip after people seeing what he did this year. Plus, you got questions whether Mike Evans is coming back. He's a free agent, and he was his top target, this year. So that will have to factor in as well.
I'm excited for Baker. I think he finally found his home in Tampa, so I'm excited for him, and I hope he does succeed because I thought he was a good quarterback. And it just the Browns are a curse, and I think sitting after Tom Brady for a year or two, it kind of just pushed over. And he was only supposed to be there for a QB competition with Kyle Trask, and he beat him out, and he did fantastic, brought them to the playoffs. Like you said, I think and I agree with you. I think it was his best season yet.
Okay. Yeah. No, don't disagree with that at all. I mean, well done, Baker, and I hope he does get paid because when you put that much work in and you can show that you are an NFL level quarterback, he deserves to get paid. But I just don't know whether he'll be able to keep that up next year. And especially for fantasy, I wouldn't want to take the chance.
Yeah, completely agree. For running backs now, it's basically one person and then a tier break after that. Mr. Christian McCaffrey does not disappoint. You probably drafted him number 1 overall in your fantasy draft. And you know what? You ended up getting what you paid for, because even though he missed the final game of the season, he still finished as the QB, as the RB1, and he had over 100 points more than the RB2, which was Breece Hall. So
I mean, he's still, even though he's going up in age for running back, he's still head and shoulders, the best running back, and he's definitely the best running back to have in fantasy football. Yeah, there's not much more you can say about McCaffrey, really.
Yeah, you really can't. After that, the top 10 that were drafted, only 2 of them finished top 10. 3 of them finished top 10. Derrick Henry, you drafted him as the RB6. He finished as the RB8. Tony Pollard, you drafted him as the RB8. Actually, he finished as the RB14 in PPR leagues. In standard, he was top 10. Travis Etienne, another one, you drafted him, I think, 9th, and you got better than what you paid for him. He finished as the RB3. And then lastly, Joe Mixon, he finished as the RB6. You drafted him as the RB8. So realistically, running backs, it goes to show that running backs for future drafts, I think you're either getting Christian McCaffrey or you're just waiting on running backs, because Eckler, I mean, he was the RB2. He battled through injury all season. I mean, I don't think he finished top. I think he finished maybe top 30, if that. So yeah, Eckler 26.
Yeah,
exactly. Austin Eckler finished 26. You paid a high price for him as the RB2. Bijan Robinson, he finished as the RB9 because of PPR league. But in standard, he finished as the RB12. Again, PPR means a lot more for running backs if they're getting dumped the ball. Desmond Ridder constantly dumping the ball over to Bijan towards the end of the season. He wasn't really used much in the beginning, but started getting a little bit more towards the end of the season. So Bijan gets a little bit. I think Bijan was just always overpriced. He was being dropped as the RB3 without really seeing any value, any true NFL experience.
Yep.
Nick Chubb, unfortunately, he tore his ACL, out for the year. He did finish as the RB86, if that means anything to anyone. Barkley, he was drafted as the RB5, finished as the RB13. We already mentioned Henry. Jacobs, RB7 drafted. Where did Jacobs finish, actually? I think Jacobs finished 28.
28, yeah, that's terrible.
Terrible. He missed the end of the season. He finished 2 years ago as the RB4. I was all in on him, actually, this year. I was drafting him in as many leagues as I could because I thought his value was good. Turns out it's not. No. Pollard, like I mentioned already, finished RB14, and then Etienne and Mixon, of course, rounding it out. Some surprises in this year. Keith, got any surprises that you think you would have never expected to be finishing as the top RB10?
Probably Mostert.
Yeah.
The guy's always gets banged up, but he had a good season, not many injuries, and it showed. The other one I take away off this list is Kyron Williams, because he finished as the RB7 but missed 5 games. If he plays in them 5 games, he's comfortably the RB2 for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love that. Kyron, he was drafted as the RB52 this year. I think that would change significantly.
Oh, big time.
After finishing RB7. And you mentioned Mostert finishing as the RB5. He was drafted as the RB38. So, say for instance, you drafted Mostert and Williams, and say you drafted, I don't know, you probably drafted another running back before that, I hope. Say you drafted like ETN as one of your top picks. Your running backs are stacked right there.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, you would have picked up great players at other positions because you were playing the value game with Mostert and Kyron Williams. So you probably had top QB, at least one top wide receiver. So that team was like definitely championship caliber if it didn't win already.
Oh, 100%. I wonder if there is any teams that had those two players on their roster and won it. Another one was Rachaad White. I mean, that was a surprise for me. I didn't think he was going to finish as the RB4 after being drafted as the RB29. I mean, I just didn't see much from him, so I couldn't really tell you much. I didn't think like he would finish that top 5. He ended up finishing top 4.
He was a PPR machine. I think standard he still finished top 10. I think he was 8th, but he did a lot in the passing game that really boosted his numbers.
So you think if Baker stays, Rachaad White should be a top 10 running back drafted next year?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would be on the White train if Baker starts. Clearly shows he likes to check down, he likes to throw to him. They obviously scheme up for him as well. So the only thing that is knocking me about the Bucs as well is Dave Canales is gone, and he was the one that kind of revived Baker's career. He revived Geno's career. He definitely calls a good game on the offensive side, and now he's gone to the Panthers. So there's going to be changes there as well, which could throw a spanner in the works.
Hopefully, I'm really excited for Rachaad White. I do hope he still continues to do well, and hopefully the check down still works, and that offense doesn't change. If that offense changes, we're in trouble, or Buccaneers are in trouble.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, they also have to re-sign Mike Evans. I think if you're the Bucs who just went to the playoffs and went into the playoffs thinking, I don't even know if they thought they were going to make playoffs, but you went to a playoffs. Your division's very weak. If you sign Mike Evans to a long-term deal, now you have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin again. Maybe get, I don't know, another tight end, another receiver, but realistically work on defense. I think that's the main point.
Agreed.
To really get your team successful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as much as we'd love to go to wide receivers and tight ends, that will be done in the next episode. But I do want to quickly go through our way too early 2024 Super Bowl predictions. I'm curious to see what the predictions are going to look like for us to. Obviously, we're going to go through it throughout the whole year on predictions, but this is week after the Super Bowl. You know, Kansas City Chiefs have won. Are you going to be like Peter Strager and start the trend where he goes 6 straight years picking the correct Super Bowl champion? And this year he had it exactly perfect. The Chiefs would beat the 49ers. Keith, do you have anyone in mind? Do you have anyone, or do you have an AFC, NFC team to go into the Super Bowl?
I don't know who's going to get there in the NFC because I don't want to say the
Seahawks?
The 49ers are going again because I want to see what the Seahawks are like first. But I think I have a team that will win it. I don't think they need to make many changes. I think they need a running back, and I think they will do that. I think the Baltimore Ravens could do it.
You think the Ravens will win it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm on the fence in the NFC. I think it's going to be an NFC team next year.
Okay.
And I think it's really between San Fran and it's between Detroit. I think those are my two. Last year, this past season, I picked the Burrow and the Bengals. Sorry, Katie. And Bills I had 2 years ago. Neither of them happened. This year, it's an NFC team that's going to win. We're finally going to see an NFC team win finally again. I want to say the Detroit Lions. Way too early because they have free agents that they're going to have to sign. But I think the Detroit Lions are going to be my Super Bowl pick for next year to win it all.
I don't knock that pick. I like the pick. I mean,
Detroit Lions and the Baltimore Ravens, what we should have seen in this year's Super Bowl.
What we should have seen, exactly what it could have been. I like it. I just don't know whether Goff is just the guy to get them there. But other than that, I like what they're doing. But like you said, it's way too early, and we'll see how it all plays out in the offseason.
We have Chris in the comments saying, respect the Bills.
I'm sick of respecting the Bills. Every year, a lot of people say the Bills and the Bills
try
don't win.
I try it so hard. Do you think the Chiefs will three-peat? Obviously, we didn't pick the Chiefs, but do you think there's a very strong chance?
Yeah, of course there is. I mean, this year, I'd say, well, other than Peter Schrager and a few, I think people said like he didn't have much of a chance when they comparing their squad to other squads, but like they did it like with a good defense and a not very good wide receiver crew and stuff like that. So yeah, they can definitely do it again. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I hope they don't. I really hope Baltimore
Me too.
Will be.
Me too.
Hopefully this time they will finally beat them.
Yeah, hopefully this time next year we're talking about someone else winning.
Yes, and this time we'll be talking about how the Detroit Lions have won the Super Bowl for the first time in their franchise, not the Baltimore Ravens.
If you say so.
But that's going to do it here in this week's episode. I'm your host, Fernando. You can follow us all over social media at SportsTimeHQ. Also follow my co-host, Keith, the great co-host of them all. Go follow him at SwampDonkey_90 and go follow him on Instagram at HuddleUp_NFL. That's going to do it for this week. We'll see you all next week.